and how those images are used on the web. Because often what we don't realize is that Google in the last 9 months has introduced a new part to their algorithm in how they're going to rank sites. That part is how long it takes for that page to load into the browser when a user comes to it. So if your site's taking 30 seconds to load and your competitor's site is taking 15 seconds to load and everything else is equal, he's going to outrank you, because he's providing a better user experience for his visitor by having the site load in 15 seconds versus your site loading in 30 seconds. Now, that's kind of an exaggeration, but only in this sense. If my site takes a second to load and your site takes 10 seconds to load, I'm still going to really beat you. And the thing that really slows down sites more than anything else are images. So what you want to do is, if you're going to put images on your sites, you want to make sure that you're putting them up there in the best way. And often what happens is images get to be kind of a secondhand thing. We worry so much about our content, how we're going to put our words together, whether or not we get the keywords in there. We have all that kind of stuff, and oh yeah, a picture. I got this really cute picture. I'm going to grab that picture and I'm going to throw that up there, and it works. You know, it looks nice. I'm giving a nice eye candy graphic presentation. The problem comes though when we grab that picture and it comes out of our, you know, wherever we get them. If you shoot them like this, I took on top of Mount Avid the other day. I was up there in the evening. Now this is just a quick grab that comes off my camera. That's 4.6 meg. Now it's really big because it's 4,000 and some, and you're never going to put that on a website. But you might put a 1024 by 768 up there using a lightbox effect for it to expand up and come in. So if I reduce this thing down in the typical fashion by taking it into Photoshop or my Capture NX, what I'm going to end up with is something that's about 800–900K in size. That is still pretty large. My goal is to have everything that I load under 200K if it's going to be a big picture. If it's going to be small, I shoot for 30 to 50K. So I want them to be nice and tight. The other thing that has changed with images and putting them up on our website is the iPad 3. What the iPad 3 has done with this new screen is that they have made the display of everybody that used to reduce their images down as far as dots per inch to 72 dpi, because even Photoshop was like, okay, this is for the web. 72 dpi, that's all you need for the web. Well, the web now, through this type of screen and in the new MacBook Pros that are coming out, they're getting the same screen as the iPad 3s. So when you look at a 72 dpi image, it becomes like a Commodore 64. They're starting to get pixelated. They're turning into little square blocks. And your images aren't presenting as well as what they could really look nice on the screen. So really, taking your images down to 72 dpi is not really necessary anymore. And here's the other thing, it's kind of hard to get your mind around, but 300 dpi is what my camera shoots at. A 300 dpi image doesn't take any more file size to upload than a 72 dpi image. You think if it's 300, it's got to be bigger. It's got to be more. It's you know, so it's going to load slower than a 72. That's not true. You can upload 300 dpi's and have those things compressed just as much as you can 72. It's in how that they go up there. So there's not a correlation between dot per inch in when the image is viewed to file size itself. For the last 4 years, I've been uploading 300 dpi images. I ran a little test one day when I was geeking around, so I took the same picture and I uploaded it at 72 dpi and I uploaded it at 300 dpi, and just looking at the screen, it looked, you know, pretty similar. And then I zoomed in, And as I zoomed in, the 300 DPI just got sharper and the 72 DPI just got blown out. So I ran more tests on, okay, how are my file sizes? 1 or 2. I mean, it was just amazing. It might be 70K versus 72K. I was like, for 2K? I'll take the difference. So I've been uploading 300 DPI images on just about everything that I do for the last 4 years. I'm really lucky. I don't have to go through and make any kinds of changes or even modify how I do things for it to look good on the iPad or on the new Macs. And trust me, if those are going to the higher resolution screens, it isn't long before the rest of them are going to go there. People are already using their television sets in order to look at websites. So we want our images to look good, we want them to look crisp and clear, but we want our sites to load fast so that the viewer has a good response and so that Google won't be penalizing us on our organic placement based on the fact that our images are slowing down our site. You might think, okay, 200K, that's not too bad even, if I'm going to do a 200K. And it's only on that page. But let's say I do 10 posts, and I have a 200K image on each one of those 10 posts, and I'm displaying 10 posts on my homepage. When people go to my homepage, if it's like a WordPress blog, and now it's loading up all 10 of those, I just ended up having to upload, when somebody comes to my homepage, 2 meg of photos. So if you're going to give yourself the allotment of, all right, I'm going to put a 200K up there, you have to remember and take it into context. It's not just loading that page. If you got a header image, it's going to be loading that in there as well. If you've got a background image that's to your site, it's going to load that up as well. And if this is in association with a blog post, all the posts that I have around it, I have to take into, thinking about that. So if I give myself the luxury every now and then and say, all right, I really like this shot. I want to put this front and center on this blog post and it's going to be there. I'm not going to do that again for the next however many posts until I know that 2 of those aren't going to be on the homepage at the same time. Now, I limit my homepage to 3 posts. Standard is 10, some do 5, some do 7. I do 3. And I do 3 for one reason. My page loads faster. And my content rotates quicker. Because Google isn't seeing exactly the same content except for this little bit on my homepage. Every time I write a 3rd post, I'm rotating a 1/3 of my content every time I write 1 post. So I keep it at 3, it loads fast, and they can get to it if they want to. Most people don't come into my homepage anyway. They come in from some other thing that they're searching for and getting there. All right, now I want to show you some tools that you can download that will make this process easy, and then I'm going to show you how to use them. You can stop and ask questions at any point. Look, I wear this thing around here because I've been hearing impaired for so many years. I really can't hear very well. So this puppy isn't a voice recorder like some lady says, do you really take that many notes that you need that around your neck all the time? It's like, no, actually that plugs into my hearing aid so I can actually talk on the phone. But
you might get to this. What would be the correlation between a photo and, let's say, a video? Is it the same thing as it loading just a starting image, or is there much more to it than just that?
The difference is you're hosting the images, and 9 times out of 10 we're embedding the videos. So we're really using those high-speed servers coming off of Vimeo or YouTube so there's some effect there, but not as much because we're really pulling that in, and it's not loading the whole thing. All we're really loading is a little image that sits on the screen, then we stream it.
Okay.
So the videos aren't really slowing us up as much as the images are.
Going on that, is that a strategy then to use a different image hosting place instead of your own website?
That's the problem, great big room.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay, it's not your problem.
Is it better then to use like an image hosting website than your own because it serves up images faster?
Not necessarily. Here's the problem with that. If they're down, you're down. You know, and so I know some people that have done that. They put their images up on a separate host like PhotoBucket. I even have some commercial accounts where all of the images on their site is on somebody else's PhotoBucket site. If that guy doesn't pay his PhotoBucket bill or his PhotoBucket account goes down for some reason, their whole website's down. All their background images, everything's absolutely gone at the same time. So I prefer to go ahead and host my images on my own site, because here's the other thing, Google will index your images if they're on there. So rather than just being DCS-8734, go ahead and name, you know, that image and stick it in there so that it can identify it and it's easier for you, because I actually get probably 25% of my site traffic comes off my images. Because people are trolling, looking for different things that are tied to the images. Now, one little trick, and I'll just mention this, is if you have images that you're loading all the time, like your little realtor image and your fair housing image and your anything that's always on there, like in your sidebars and those kinds of things, you can load those from offsite. And actually, you can load those from, I use what's called a cookieless domain. It won't index those images, and I'm pulling them in from a separate site and a separate domain. So again, if you've got one engine loading everything up versus 3 engines loading everything up, you're going to go faster if it's coming from 3 separate sources. But that's kind of a geeky thing. You'd want to be running a lot more sites and just set up a cookieless domain and feed them in from there. Cookieless domain images do not get indexed. So that's kind of the trade-off.
Have you played with any caching to be some cache, or you played with any caching? There would be some cache.
If you cache, it's basically
For your site speed?
yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't really affect it that much.
No.
But we're talking about caching images for really, you know, I mean, we're really dealing with tiny images.
No, I'm talking about for your posts and for your content, have you seen any impact of caching?
I don't use caching.
Okay.
Caching slows down sites. I know that goes contrary to popular belief. If you optimize your site, you can beat a cache on page load times. I beat them consistently by 1/3 of a second to 1/2 a second in my page load times by optimizing my. It takes cache actually longer to upload. But for the typical person that isn't sitting there fine-tuning, I mean, I'm like sitting behind here with a screwdriver fine-tuning every little thing, all my stuff, so that if you don't have the time to do that or the knowledge to do that, yeah, cache is probably the way to go. Stick that in there.
Okay.
The other thing is, if you're a geek tweaker, turn your cache off when you're making changes. You drive yourself crazy when you can't see your changes updating on the screen. All right, right here, if you're running a PC Windows machine, image resizer for Windows. And let me see if I go to this one. This will probably show you how. This is a free download. You download this and you integrate it into your site. Actually, that's the one I want for 7. So here's what happens. Once you download this and you run it, it's not a separate program that you run. It integrates into your operating system. Whether you run Windows 7, you get one version, or Windows XP, you get another version. Once you've got this downloaded, then whenever you right-click on an image, so you click the image and right-click, you'll get an option to resize that picture. And you can do this by single, or you can do it by batch. And you'll notice that these are the types of options that come up, or you can do a custom size that you want to do it to. And what this will do is resize that image down, basically stripping out the EXIF data, stripping out some other things that it doesn't need to display the image, so that that image is going to get smaller. Let's take one of those That's probably the same image. That's 5 meg right there. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to say resize this picture. And actually what I'm going to do is resize it to the same size, so I need to know how big this is. 4288. Okay, resize. 4288. I don't need to fill in the other one. It knows to keep the ratio. It throws a custom name on here and calls it custom. So now it's 1.1 as opposed to being 5. But I don't want it to be that big. So I'm going to resize it down to what I want it to be, which is 1024, because I never load anything bigger than that. Now I've got a custom 2 here, 1024, 123. But if I'm going to display that image actually on the site in a smaller size, let's say I'm going to put it in a blog post off here to the side, I really just need something that's 300, because that's as big as I'm going to do it. Now, there's 2 ways you can do that, and I'll show you, from the outside, you can do it like this. Let's say, I want this thing to be 300 wide, and I'm going to get a custom 3 here, and now this thing's 50K. So, what you would do is you'd upload both the 1024 and the 300. You display on the screen the 300, but you'll link it to the 1024. And that way, the 300 gets loaded on the page, but if they want to click on it and lightbox it, it gets bigger. And you think, isn't that complicated? I'm going to show you how to uncomplicate it. How many of you run on WordPress? Okay. Yeah. One of the things that you have right here is your media library, and when you add new media, what a lot of people don't realize is over here under settings, you also have a media settings. And what I can do here is I can say, look, I want my largest size coming in here to be 1024, I want my medium size to be 300, and I want my thumbnails to be 150. That's not on there?
It's not you.
No,
it's off
it
the...
down. There we go.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. There we go. So, because every time you upload an image into WordPress, it actually creates 3 images for you. Your initial size, and then if it's even bigger than that, it'll create a large, a medium, and a small. So I know 300 fits for what I do for when I want to display them on the left or on the right. And I know that I like big thumbnails because sometimes I want to just put a thumbnail up there. So rather than do the typical size thumbnail, I'll do this. So when I upload my 1024, it automatically creates a 300 and it automatically creates a 150. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say give my a brand new page here. And I'm going to want to add an image right here off the get-go. And I'm going to pop up what we just did. And I know that number 2 is 1024 by 680. So I'm going to pop that in there. Now this is where, even if you didn't name the file, you want to name it here. You want to put your alt text in. I'll stop right there and say some of you have probably heard put your keywords in your alt text because it's good for SEO. It was good for black hat SEO. That is not white hat SEO. And here's why. The alt tag is for people who are visually sight impaired. And if they're using a reader to read to them, the alt tag tells them this is an image of. and then it reads the alt tag to tell them what it is. So when people started putting in their, whatever it is that was their business that they wanted to rank for, Google went, uh-oh, that's keyword stuffing. So you get a ding for putting keywords in there. You get a plus for filling it out. If you fill it out, they go, this is good, you're helping the sight impaired, this is a better experience for your visitor. But if you keyword stuff, you get a ding. So you do want to fill out the alt tag, but you don't necessarily want to do a ding. Now, when I scroll down here, you'll notice that I'm already saying, yes, insert the medium size in here. So it's going to show the medium, but you notice that the link is actually to the full-size image. So I don't have to, in my head, go load this one to show and that one. I say, do the medium image on the screen, so it only loads the medium image, but link it to, if they click on it, to the bigger image. So WordPress will handle this for you. You don't have to do it manually. Here's the other little trick that I do. If I want this image to have my text wrap either to the left or to the right, I don't know if WordPress has fixed this because I've been doing it this way for so long. But if you would say, send this image to the right, it would go to the right, but no text would come beside it. And if you said, show it to the left, it would go to the left, but no text would go beside it. If you bring that image into your post as none, and then once it's in there, tell it to go left or right, the text will flow. So, and like I said, I don't know if they fixed this so that's not there, because I've been doing that for so many years this way. So I'm just going to say, yeah, insert that into the post. And you notice it's bumping my image over. And it's actually inside the link. I do the geeky thing here where I go back to the HTML. I probably should have put that under it, so. And of course it would display beside it. Savage. Now, out here I'm going to say float this thing left, and my high moves over. If I say float it to the left, otherwise it just always leaves it blank right there. So what I have is, I have my image in here in a 300. If I look at the HTML, this is actually saying, yeah, what I want you to do and show on the screen is this one, which is actually this image class file that's only 300 dpi wide and 199 high, but the actual source link is to the original one, which is this one that I have highlighted. So I do a visual, I save the draft, I do a preview, and I hope I haven't turned Lightbox off. But even if I have, you'll see the idea. So it didn't Lightbox, but you can see what happens here is I click on the 300, it goes to the 1024. 1024 is a nice size. That's a 300 dpi image that got reduced down to, what was it, 110K. And the nice thing is, you see, this image loaded just as I clicked on it. And it wasn't loading any of the rest of my web page. So even though it was 100K, which again isn't real big, it's not loading everything else at the same time. It's just loading that image. It can fly on that, and it brings it up very, very quickly.
Is the Lightbox a WordPress thing or a plugin?
It's just the way that your WordPress does with the 3 images, and you bring it in and pick the size. Yeah, that's a WordPress thing.
Okay.
You can do this through straight HTML by doing the exact same thing. You can upload both images, and you can say, I want to display this one on the screen, I want it to link to this one. here's the source, here's what you're going to display. So you don't have to rely on WordPress to do it, but it's really nice. They pretty much take care of it for you. Questions. I wanted to give you plenty of time here for questions now at this point. If you're doing this off of a Mac, there is a CNET that you can simply Google image resizer for Mac, and it pops up. I think it's like $11 for that, but you Mac guys buy apps all the time for $2.99 or whatever, you know. So, and it should do the same thing for you, but the other one for PCs, you know, it's absolutely free. I'll show you where this comes in handy and why it's important. I'll actually pop out here because we're basically done with that. We'll head to the home. Get this so you can see more of it. If you're using Firefox, there's a little thing called Firebug that's very handy. I use this all the time as a developer so that I can see what's going on with sites. You just activate this Firebug and then you can play with things like size and color, and you can change things like, if I go right there and I say, okay, this second thing here is box radius. So you can see that this radius right here, that's a 7. See, so I can actually, inside the browser, I can say, what happens if I take this up to 48? You notice how it throws that curve on there. So I can debug and do this kind of stuff with Firebug. But Firebug has another add-on that Google provides for us called PageSpeed. And you download both of these inside your Firefox. So you get Firebug extension, then you get the PageSpeed extension. Once you activate the PageSpeed extension, you can click and run an analysis. And this will tell you how fast your page is loading. Perfect is 100. It's really hard to get 100. You can get 100. I have a site with 100 on it. There isn't anything on it. That's how you get 100. I told you I had a cookieless domain that I put my images on. This is it. Analyze that. I get 100 out of 100. This site is fast. Why? Because there's nothing on it. I get a perfect score. I get 100 out of 100 on that site. But I can't do anything with it. But if we pop back over here, you know, and we ran that analysis on it, I guess I have to run it again. I pick up this 91 here. But you notice how it's showing me all these various things that are out here? Like, I get a name for optimized image, but if I click on this little arrow, it's going to show me what I have here. And it's going to say, you know what, you have this image over here called the call to action buttons GIF. And this thing could save 7.2K, a 49% reduction, if you had this optimized image. And oh, by the way, we've optimized it for you and you can save it. So I use this tool, and you'll notice that it goes through here because sometimes I get lazy and I just upload something. Or even though I've reduced the image in size on that post, Google provides me this free service of running at, you know, they really have a lot of money, Google does. And they can do stuff with software that I couldn't even begin to afford to do. So if they're willing to optimize my images for me and tell me they can save me 33%, 35%, and all I have to do is click Save As, and they're going to give me that optimized image, now I can just replace the one that I have up there with their optimized image, I'm going to take it. And this is what I was talking about, being able to have have your site load faster than if you're using a cache. If you go through and do this kind of stuff, like I said, really, really geeky. But here it is. It's a free tool. You can get this for Google Chrome as well. You just get the page load speed extension, and it's under your developer tools. But the one that I really like is the one that works here with Firefox, because it makes it easier to grab and save those optimized images.
Can you talk more about the cookieless website?
The cookieless domain is really just something that's telling Google, don't index this. And there's a little script that you put in the htaccess file, and you just go there, so you activate that domain. You can put your images in an image directory, but in the htaccess file, you have this little script that makes it a cookieless domain, meaning nothing there gets indexed. It's not going to get hit, it's not going to get passed, it just sits there with these images in, and then you can call them from there to go over and load onto your site. And I use that, like I said, for things that I'm going to upload over and over again, or if, like the fair housing logo. I figure it's much easier to load that off a cookieless domain. It's small anyway, but put it on the cookieless domain. I don't need it indexed, but I want it on my site. So I have it in a cookieless domain. When I build websites, I don't put it on those individual websites, I put it from the cookieless domain. And the main reason for that is people move. They move their sites all the time. They do hosting here, they do hosting there, and then all of a sudden they forget to put the fair housing up there, and they're in trouble somehow. If it's already built in that it's going to go from the cookieless domain, no matter where they go, as long as they're using that theme, it's calling it from the cookieless domain, it goes right up on their site. So it's handled. But that is a great little tool, again, for going one more step further in optimizing your images and checking out where you are on things. Because we just picked that image one, but we can pick any one of those. Like if I just put that back together, it'll tell you exactly where your site is, what it is that you need to do. I mean, it's really a great, this is like Google Analytics for page load time. You go in here and you look at all these different things, and it'll say, your JavaScript is taking too long to load. Maybe you want to load the JavaScript in the footer. You've got this, there's a conflict here. You should serve your site up zipped with compression. Now, if you cache your site, that's exactly what you're doing. In other words, what Kelly was talking about, you cache your site so it makes a static HTML page so that when somebody comes to it, it loads that static HTML. It's not going out and rebuilding the page like it does through PHP every time. What I do is on my server, I have a gzip. I've got it set up that says gzip this site. And then when I get to the site, I have built into my header of my theme a little PHP code that says decompress the site. So what's happening is when somebody comes to my site and they hit the server to get the site gets compressed. And then it's sent across the internet as a zip file. And as soon as it gets to their browser, the very first thing it hits is the decompress this. And it decompresses the site for them, right on their browser. So it increases the page load, or it decreases the page load time and increases your page load speed. And that lets you see what's going on there. There's also a little PHP script that you can get. And again, this depends on how geeky you are. And then you can view the source of your page. You can come in here and it'll say it executed 46 queries and it loaded this page in just over half a second. So page load speed thing is giving me a score, a value, you know, up to 100. This is giving me an idea of when this page loaded into my browser, how long did it take to get there? And it took just over half a second. Now, you're going to get, if you're looking at your page load times that Google Analytics now provides you, you're not going to get these kinds of numbers because they're looking at it in a different way. They're measuring time in a different way. If you can stay under a second using this little tool, you're in great shape. I'll give you a peek at this. You can find this thing on the web. It's not that hard. Make this bigger. That's it. This little one line of PHP. Get the number of queries, echo it, PHP time stop. How long did it take for you to load this page? And that's what we were looking at before. So I take this and I drop this in the footer of my site, and then I know where I'm at on my page load time. So we've covered two things: image optimization, the value of it, how it affects your page load time, and then I gave you a couple of tools here so that you can gauge what kind of effect these are having.
What are you executing there?
I'm executing a PHP, basically a query that says get the number of queries that were executed and how long did it take you to load this page to here.
So where is the page speed though thing coming from? Is it from?
It's coming from the server. In other words, when it's like, give me the stop time on when everything got here. And that's why you put it down in the footer where you do. It's like, okay, everything's loading up and it gets to the footer and it hits that and say, okay, how long did it take to get here?
And where do you get that code?
It's off the web. You can find it. If you just Google, you know, PHP code for page speed, you'll find that script. I might even have put it up on the Real Estate Blog Lab. All right, now I'm going to be gracious and get out of here so that the next speaker can shut up. And if you have any questions, you know, feel free, you can shoot me an email. I don't have a card. I know, I've been saying that for years that I need to get a card. You can find me by Googling David Tucson, or you can go to the Real Estate Blog Lab.
Thank you.